Oh no! Well, that's not good. Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. I don't know what just happened, but I lost you guys. So anyway, I'm Jasmine Jr. This is my second part of Mass Effect and stuff. And I was making a video about this video that Minius did. I have no idea why it stopped, and I hope you guys can all see this. I may have to do some
My answer is
adjusting.
maybe, and that's a downgrade from the previous chart. Basically, I find it illogical for a full Quarian contingent.
I'm gonna let you guys hear what he has to say, and then I'm gonna give my full point of view and everything.
A sizable chunk of the population off doesn't seem like it's in their best interests.
Which I disagree with the Quarian part. No offense, Minius.
I do, though, think it's reasonable for an extremely small number of Quarians to show up. Perhaps some particularly adventurous Quarians that don't really care to return to the flotilla. And my guess is that if you see a Quarian in Mass Effect Andromeda, this is how it will be done. One important question here, though, and you can ask that about all of the aliens left on this list, is what do the Quarians bring to the new game? If the answer is simply, it will make fans happy, then it might not be a good idea to bring them along. But if the writers think Quarians will help the story, then that's a much better reason. What about the Batarians? I was actually somewhat surprised to find out how many Batarian supporters there are in the Mass Effect fan community, but their inclusion might not make sense. This expedition leaves...
I disagree with that too. I think that the Batarian inclusion would actually make sense, since they didn't have any friends to begin with.
There's pretty much zero chance that a large contingent of Batarians would be welcome on this journey. It is possible, though, that a few stray Batarians come along. Individual Batarians can get along with other species, especially in mercenary bands. And I think the idea of getting stuck in a new galaxy and being forced to work with and get along with a few Batarians could make for a very compelling dynamic. But maybe Andromeda has enough dynamics going on already. The next two races I'm now tying together, and that's the Drell and Hanar. And they're pretty much tied together in the series, so that fits. One of the writers at BioWare hinted in a tweet...
After you guys watch this, I'm gonna give you guys my intel, what I think should happen. And I specifically think that the Protheans should be there.
What do these two species bring to the table?
Because they are mentioned that you don't really see them until like the third game.
That's really a huge question with the rest of the aliens.
Well, you see glimpses of them.
I think fans would like to see these two in Andromeda. I'm just not sure how well that fits. The Elcor, the Volus, and the Vorcha are all kind of in the same boat. They play a small role in the Mass Effect universe, though their inclusion helps flesh things out a bit. And while they're not exactly there entirely for comic relief, that's the role they often fill. I happen to like each of these species quite a bit, the Volus in particular. But do they help the new game enough to be brought along? I think their status is in doubt. Now we're getting into a few races that aren't all that likely to show up, starting with the Geth. Basically, the Geth have dropped down on this list because of the timing of when the Andromeda expedition leaves. It's during Mass Effect 2. Now, Mac Walters said between 2 and 3, but year-wise, Mass Effect 2 fits better, and you might recall the positive contact between Geth and organic species at this time is either completely non-existent or relegated to Legion and his relationship with the Normandy crew. Now, it depends on the exact departure date. Basically, the Geth and everyone else are not friendly towards each other. While a trip to Andromeda might be interesting for a Geth, I can't see any organic bringing them along on purpose. The Protheans, too, are unlikely. There is an off chance that some Protheans made their way to Andromeda more than 50,000 years ago, and you can run into them there, which could be neat.
But see, I would like that to happen.
The original trilogy. I'm not sure that's a good enough reason for them to be there. It might
I don't think it's a good enough reason for them not to be there. When you think about it. I definitely think the Arachni should be there. Not the Yogg, and definitely the Leviathan. And the Collectors. I've touched on this earlier in my earlier video. So I'm going to touch on it again as soon as you guys finish watching this.
Should not be brought along.
No.
I mean, you'd have to be crazy or an idiot.
And that space bear they're talking about kind of resembles the Yogg.
The Leviathans would completely change the dynamic of the game because they're kind of crazy powerful. And the final two, the Collectors and Keepers, are basically Reaper constructs. And
I don't think the Keepers would be there.
that there
But
will
then again,
not
that could
any
be a
Reapers in
surprise.
this game.
Maybe the keepers
Which is
were
good,
actually the
because I think we need
remnants,
to leave them behind. I mean,
and
they
some of them
certainly
got
have
lost
their
and came
moment.
to the
So
Milky
here's
Way
a look
first.
at those 20 races and how my charts have moved along as we've gotten more information. There are some obscure races out there that never get any screen time that really aren't worth mentioning.
Really? Well, aren't you interesting?
But what is worth mentioning is that in addition to these, we will have new races. So far, we only know of a few, like the cat. Later on in the month, Game Informer will be releasing more information about the cat, at which point we might get a better idea of how many new alien races there are in Andromeda. One thing to keep in mind is that pre-DLC Mass Effect 1, only these 13 played a role. I mean, the Batarians did show up later, but basically these others were added over time. The original Mass Effect was a terrific introduction to the universe. So let's say that newcomers to the series can handle humans and 12 other races, although really only 9 species made a large impact on that first game. Now in this new game, we've got 5 locked in already. You are going to have multiple new aliens that need to be fleshed out. So how much room for old aliens is there? The answer, I think, is less than we'd like it to be. This game needs space to focus on the Andromeda Galaxy. I'm curious though, which old aliens do you want in the new game, and how disappointed would you be if your favorite isn't brought along? Let everyone know in the comments section below. Next up, I'll be looking at characters.
I gotta do you one more,
and
Mr.
squad mates in
Minius.
Mass Effect
I'm gonna do a
Andromeda. But if you
video
like this
about your
please
video.
give it a like. It really
So,
helps out the
get
channel.
ready.
Keep an eye on
Here we
Minius
go.
GC for a bunch of new Mass Effect videos.
After this,
But for now,
I should go.
The new armor reinforcements really threw off the gravimetric profiles. But engines are good to go. I rebalanced the Gilborn coefficients and adjusted the anterior intakes on the second tier stabilizers.
I love it when you talk dirty.
Okay, so if you've been paying attention to all that, and they mentioned all the races that were going to be there and possibilities of what wasn't going to be there and everything, so now you know what this video is basically about. So let me start. I've put together some theories of my own, and hopefully this doesn't piss off Mr. Minius because I borrowed his stuff. As I also don't have the tech to like do that on this machine because I'm not a tech person. I'm a 43-year-old guy who just loves to play the fuck out of Mass Effect. But anyway, so my whole thing, since the Protheans were the first known, and then the people the Prothean mentioned before, when Shepard and Javik was talking about all the things that Javik had witnessed during his cycle or whatever. So the people who created the Jafar and all them, maybe, just maybe, and this does happen a lot, and mostly in space adventures, there's always a crew that has the Bermuda Triangle syndrome. And what I mean by that is, there have been a lot of ships that have went into the Bermuda Triangle and have never been heard from again. We know this because, sorry, that's some ceiling dirt there. We know this because there have been missing people throughout time and space that no one has ever been able to find bodies to, specifically Amelia Earhart. I'm not saying she's going to be in Andromeda, but wouldn't it be a bitch if the Bermuda Triangle opened up and there she was? But anyway, you know, I made that using Mr. Minius' stuff for the simple fact that some of the things he said, I agree on. Some of the things he said, I didn't agree on. I do think that the Protheans should be there. And I do think that the Collectors should be there. I think that two ships probably could have gotten together, had a clash, and both got knocked off course. And the only way to save themselves was to go into stasis. I don't think it took them 600 years because they were probably out in the furthest reaches of the Milky Way galaxy when this shit happened. And they probably found the dormant relay, which they activated during their space battle and zapped them straight into Andromeda. Not knowing what happened back here, let them think that the Reaper cycle was still going on, etc., etc. So they won't know what the hell is going on. They won't know that there's no more Reapers or anything, and it'll be a civil war between Collectors and Protheans. And I think that that will probably sell. If you guys are watching, I think that that probably would sell, and I think it would be great because they showed you when Shepard found Javik all the flashbacks of them fighting the Collectors. So it kind of was irrelevant in when they told her, well, when Javik is told by Shepard, depending on male or female, whichever one you choose to use. I prefer the female Shepard. The dialogue is just better from Jennifer Hale. Sorry, Mark, but I just love really hot chicks. But anyway, so being that that could have happened, and then we didn't get enough of Elcor, we didn't get enough of Volus, except for like in the second game where they played a couple of drug dealer scenes, and one of them was a hustler and stuff like that. And we didn't really get enough of Quarians until the third game. When they had a small section in the second game, but in the third game, they kind of them and the Geth kind of was like basically the center of the game, which is where I need to be on right now. But the whole thing is that maybe while they were sending Legion to find Shepard, maybe another Geth or a couple were out that just were looking for Reapers, and they could have made it over into Andromeda as well, and not having a way back. Geths adapt fairly fast, so they could probably have established a foothold over there in Andromeda as well. And the thing is, there's millions of possibilities. So, I wouldn't be surprised if a few members of every race made it to Andromeda. And not just on the arcs, but made it there before the humans and the people or the council races were making it to the arcs. And it would be great to have the Hanar in the drill, because you get yay so much of the drill. You really only get one drill or two drills, which is basically Koyat and his dad. So why couldn't there be more drills and Hanar in the other world? And maybe they would actually flourish and have the deluxe 10,000 or whatever the hell Blasto had. Maybe even Blasto had a child or so that went with them, because if you're gonna be in a galactic war, and I think that as a former military soldier in real life, that there has to be a contingency plan, and every government has one, to make sure that their people carry on. Because without our people, we have no government. And that works not just for the United States, but that works for everybody in the world itself. There is a contingency plan for us to carry on in the events that things like this would actually happen, where there would be a galactic war. There's a contingency plan. Y'all might not know this. I'm probably going to magically disappear for saying this. Hell, my site might get shut down. But the fact of the matter is, as a soldier, I know for a fact, there is a government contingency plan for when shit goes wrong. Now, so in the future, I'm pretty sure that there has to be a contingency plan, which the Andromeda Initiative is pretty much a contingency plan, because maybe, just maybe, backwater traveling, like Havoc through the, Havoc. I meant to say Hackett. Like Hackett may have been telling his higher-ups, his superiors, hey, look, I'm not going to discredit Shepard, but we might not want to take the chance of this like going further than it should be. And I know you guys seen the movie damn it, No Tomorrow. I think that's the one. Whichever one it was. I know The End of Days was Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it's not that one. The one with Morgan Freeman was the president in the tidal wave, and they had plans to go into outer space or whatever. I can't remember how the movie ended. I don't care. But and then 2012, where they had all the destruction all around the world and everything. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure that there is a contingency plan. And let's throw it back even further. Let's go all the way back to the first Independence Day with Will Smith. How Area 51 existed, etc., etc. And that there has to be a contingency plan. Because the one thing about humans, we want to survive. We want to know what's next. So we're going to figure out a way, somehow or another, to survive. Now, I don't know if we really have a cryostasis pod anywhere, or a time machine. But, we want to know what's happening. And we want to know because we don't want to fucking wind up dead. And we don't want to be blindsided by anything. So, there has to be a contingency plan for the future. So there probably was a contingency plan in this. And this was their contingency plan. Clearly, they want you to know that this was their contingency plan. But if they're leaving between game 1 and 2, which means Shepard must know about it too. And Shepard had probably told him, look, you guys don't have to believe me, but as a contingency plan, take my word and, at least consider it. And then he probably got killed, or she, depending on which Shepard you prefer, probably got killed after talking about this plan, and then wound up with Cerberus while all these people are, launched off. And Shepard probably would have had to know the N7 guy. So, again, depending on female or male Shepard, that could have been Shepard's best friend. It could have been Shepard's teammate. Could have been the guy that taught Shepard everything he or she knows. It just kind of depends on how far you want to take your imagination. I can go lots of places. I have one hell of an imagination. I'm also a graphic novelist who is looking for online publisher so I can get my Love 13 off the ground. And when you're thinking about stuff like this, if you don't think of a contingency plan, then you don't really know anything about how the world works. We have a contingency plan for treatments for diseases. I'm not going to say cures because no cures really exist, but we have treatments, and then your antibodies pretty much fill in the blanks. So, we haven't found the cure for the common cold. And that could be the same thing. They could save everyone and kill alien life forms if they come to Earth. They could be like Quarians, like, oh, they caught the common cold and they died. And another thing that could actually wind up being an act of war. It's like, well, y'all came to our planet. We didn't start the war. We didn't know what you guys could and couldn't breathe out air. So it would be, I guess, a common sense denominator to think that maybe, just maybe, aliens can't breathe out air. I know you guys probably have all seen V, and if you haven't seen V, then you're probably extremely young. So, in V, the aliens can deal with human diseases or the common cold. So you never know, but there has to be a contingency plan. And most species, most species probably have a way of backing stuff up. God, I hope that kept recording. Anyway, so let me break it down for you. I think that there should be Protheans and collectors in the other world. Even maybe Leviathans. Maybe one or two Leviathans got off course instead of going through that mysterious world that they were on, and just got off course and never looked back. And it's like, you know what? The Reapers are coming, and I may be the last of my kind, or me and a mate, or me and 3 friends, or that way there'd be 2 men and 2 women, and they could go and mate in another world and be there. But they might not be as powerful in the other universe as they were in this universe, and they had to learn the hard way. You never know. I mean, there's so many ways you can get with that. And earlier, I think I said this on my other video. If not, I'm going to say it now. Maybe, just maybe, the remnants are like the Battlestar Galactica people, where the Battlestar Galactica, if you ever watched it, they said that life didn't start on Earth, it started out there. And in the war on Earth, where the Cylons never make it to Earth. If you watch the original show, they never make it to Earth. And if you watch the new show that had my girl on there, Grace Park, they do make it to Earth twice. Because the first Earth was Earth, but it was a different Earth, I guess. And then when they make it to Earth, it has Cro-Magnon Man on there, and you see all that at the end of it. Just go back and watch the show. It's a good show. I'm going to buy all those discs anyway. But, there's always that possibility of the contingency plan. Now, I'm going to make a third part of this, so get ready.